for, 8 months, maybe a year. But for 10 years, David is going to be hunted down like a wild animal. It's a very, very difficult time for David to be the next king, the greatest king Israel ever had. Even with all of his failures, he was still the greatest king. And there was a lot of training he needed to undergo. A.W. Tozer also said this. He said, God actually rises up storms. He didn't say this. He said, rises up storms of conflict relationships at times in order to accomplish that work in our character. We cannot love our enemies in our strength. And that's true, right? He said, it's great level of grace. Are you willing to enter this school? Are you willing to take the test? Well, and even Jonathan are enrolled in this school, and it's very painful for both of them. I would say most that we come to Jonathan, also enrolled in the school of discipline, came through his father. You think when he recognized his dad was a fool, and he loved his dad and loved his dad, but the greatest thing that Jonathan experienced came through his father. The only mistake that when we come to our text in chapter 20 that Jonathan is making is he believed his dad's word. Because if we go back to chapter 19, the very beginning of that, it opens with Saul telling all of his servants, along with his son Jonathan, that we need to bring David here and we need to kill him. And remember what Jonathan did? He kind of went out on a limb. Dad, what are you doing? What do you mean you're going to kill him? Why would you kill him? Why would you sin against him? You saw him take he took his life into his own hands when he faced the giant, when he faced Goliath. You saw it with your own eyes, Dad, and you rejoiced. Why would you do this, David, and sin against innocent blood, basically? And so remember King Saul's cheesy little commitment here in 1 Samuel 19:6. Saul then heeded the voice of Jonathan, and Saul swore, as the Lord lives, he shall not be killed. And so when you get to chapter 20, what Jonathan doesn't seem to recognize is that all through chapter 19, towards the end of it, Saul was trying to kill David. He tried to kill him. He tried to kill him by telling us, having him, he was married. He was the king's son-in-law, and so basically wanted to go in and kill him while he was in his bed. And Saul's own daughter tipped David off. And remember when David said, "Why did you do that?" Or when Saul said, "Why did you do that?" She said, "He told me, David said to me, 'Why should you die? Let me go.'" Well, it seems like when we get to chapter 20 that he doesn't know any of this. And all he's thinking in his mind is that all is well between David and his father, but it's not. So let's look at verses 1 through 3. So kind of picture David, he's still out of breath. He's very vocal. Comes to Jonathan, and it says, then David fled from Naioth and Ramah. And he said to Jonathan, "What have I done? What is my sin before your father that he seeks to take my life?" And kind of, Jonathan's blindsided, like, what in the world are you talking about? And Jonathan said to him, "By no means. You shall not die. Indeed, my father will do nothing, either great or small, without first telling me." He's naive there. He's trusting in his dad's integrity, and his dad doesn't have any. "And why should my father hide this thing from me? It is not so." Then David took an oath again and said, "Your father certainly knows that I have found favor in your eyes. Let Jonathan know, lest he be grieved." Listen to this. "Truly," David says, "as the Lord lives and as my soul lives, there is but a step between me and death." David's getting desperate now. These are hard times. What that feels like, be on the verge of being murdered at the moment. And and just that in your head and to know about really affects and your response. David with you. The first point to bring up, the first lesson in God's school of discipline, that to learn to trust promises. It is a situation where trust, because it's not promise. God sent to David as the next king of Israel. So king of Israel die before he becomes the king of Israel. But listen, even though we too have the promises of God, there are circumstances that scream in our face, that is not true. Has God really said, right? Maybe David starts questioning. Maybe Samuel came out and kind of jumped the gun. Maybe he missed one of my brothers. Maybe it's not me. Maybe I'm going to die, right? And so we need to learn